Hey everybody, hey peeps, thanks for checking out my latest video. We're going to look at here at the as we head into week 4 of the NFL, the DraftKings Reignmakers. Going to look at the running backs, rest of the season projections, average per week. So not specifically on the projected scoring for week 4, but remember there's 14 games left for each team plus playoffs. And I'm focusing on the rare card prices here because that's the niche I'm most interested in currently. And the one that I went in and grabbed data for manually. As far as the horse here, that's like a running back galloping down the field. But the running back that immediately comes to mind when I see that is Derrick Henry, because he resembles a thoroughbred, sometimes running, or like a Minotaur bull. He's just from another world, even compared to the other running backs physically in the NFL. So first I want to look at what actually has won contest and a little bit of my results. So here we're looking at the week 1 core contest, the Fiat. That's the biggest contest in terms of entries, and that's like the Sunday only main slate. They've had a $5,000 first place each week, but the amount of the total pool on week 1 was really high, and it came down after that, which they did say would happen. What they fiddled with is the number of cards that it pays out on the bottomest tier. I think the cash level on both these weeks was the same. I'd have to double check. But they lowered the number of cards that it paid in week 3, but I think they've raised it up again in week 4. So they're sort of fiddling with that based on entrance and different things. And there was contests where they gave out a rare pack below a rare card pack. It's the single card prize pack below where the lowest cash payout was. And I would rather have hit the rare card in case of one tournament. I remember that. Anyway, so on week 1, this lineup came in. It scored 161.5 points. Hurts, AJ Brown, stack, Barkley, Jefferson, Superstar, and Swift. This was a fairly chalk lineup, but not as chalk as you'd think, because based on what I recorded, this was actually sort of the highest projected lineup, which was Murray, Taylor, Hill, Kelsey, and Kamara. And the projections are always going to come in around 100 for the highest. So I've had lineups around 80 plus and a lot in the 70s on my projections, which aren't bad, but they obviously aren't chalk. Of course, if you had put in Hurts and Brown as a stack there, which was a decent stack, that would have come in. That would have given this projection a little more chalkishness. 161.5 points. My best that week was 133.3. Now, I won $60 on that, and I think I won around 115 total that week, plus cards, not counting the value of cards, prize cards. I believe I only put about 400, maybe 450 into DraftKings Reignmakers. It's hard to tell exactly because I went into some DFS right at the same time, and I didn't keep exact records on those. So I made 115 that week, 35 the next week, 50 the next week, plus cards. So it's like 200. And I've sold cards and gotten around $500-ish profit on those. And now I own a boatload of cards. So the way of looking at that is I've gotten like, and that was after fees. I've gotten back like 700, and I've put in 400, and I own a boatload of cards. That's one way of looking at it. So with 14 weeks left, depending on how much you put in, if you get money back at all in the tournament, you can do well in this, besides going for the big first prizes, or if you hit a big first prize or a top 10 type finish. Now, what sort of made me sick, and I almost stopped doing videos, I was so sick over this, was I didn't calculate until I think this past Saturday, for all the data and calculations I've done, but that was in a single entry contest. I didn't notice until then that would have actually hit for 500 in the main slate contest. And that would have easily put me so up for the year that I would have just been, sort of euphoric and buying a lot of cards and packs with that money, reinvest it into the higher levels. And that's not normally the case in DFS where that would have happened, but there's a lot of gaps in the Reignmakers contest, a lot more than in regular DFS in general. So that was pretty upsetting, because normally if you hit in a single entry, you'll hit lower in this and it'll be somewhere around the same price. But this, I think, would have been like top 15 in this, and this was like 11th. So that was extremely frustrating. That basically, and that was what I considered my best lineup. So I was right on it being my best lineup, but I didn't put it in the right contest. And it's not like, oh, it was a weird contest. It was the main versus single entry. So right now you want to avoid your best contest in single entry in general. Week 2 came in, and so this seems like a chalk, but it really wasn't as chalk at the time. If you go back and look who was projected the most at the beginning of the season, Kamara was really high, for example. Week 2 came in, Lamar, Chubb, Tyreek, Waddle, and Andrews. This was not chalk, but it was good, obviously very good players, but it almost all came from that Miami-Baltimore game, and there were multiple stacks. So Jackson, Andrews, and Hill and Waddle. So that was a game that wasn't projected as a high total. So if you really wanted to hit a top lineup, you needed like a double stack or a 2 in there type of thing. And that was also the case with DFS. These lineups came in pretty strong. Jackson Andrews came in again strong on week 3, and I didn't. For some reason, I had so many DFS lineups, and I left off them together. I had Jackson a lot, and Andrews in a couple. I can't believe I did that, because I'm actually getting better at using tools to not do that. But so that sort of disturbed me on week 3 regular DFS. Anyway, that came in with an extremely high score of 197.7. My best that week was only 103. And my biggest win that week was only 10, and I think I won 30 plus cards. So there were stacks, and there was a superstar in each of these lineups. These are the actual lineups. This is not the maximum possible lineup. This is what actually won the biggest, the core main contest, which has the most entries of any of the main slate contests. So third week, it wasn't chalk at all. It was Trevor Lawrence, Derrick Henry, Hollywood Brown, Devontae Smith, and Hollins. So Hollins is a complete wild card. That's just more luck. These were sort of middle of the road, all of them, as far as popularity. And that came only in at 148 points. I got 112 points best this week. $20 payout, I believe, was my highest, $50. So you can see 150 points is probably what you're going to need to get up there real high, but it's varied so far. There's only been 3 weeks as far as what's come in. Now, going on to the different levels, I didn't have the elite lineups from week 1 and 2 that actually won, but the prize money goes up, okay? So the rare contests have had between 150K and 80K prize pool, and I believe they pay 10K first prize each week versus 5K. The elites paid 100K, and it generally has a 250K prize pool the last couple of weeks. So that one is the biggest contest that people want to get in. It is a little more top stacked to the top prize, but it's the I guess you could say the most popular in the sweet spot. And you can use currently 4 elite and 1 rare to enter that. Anyway, what you want to notice here is the score differential as you go up the levels. Now, I don't have the other levels, but it generally goes less and less as you go up towards Legendary and Reignmaker as well. So the first week, 161 won the core, 148 won the rare. The second week, they were the same exact lineups. So that is more like a DFS thing, where different, similar, very close scoring lineups win different contests. So that was like 198, 198. The third week, I did have the elite data to look at, and that was 148 on the core, 137 on the rare, and 133 on the elite. So even my crappy 112 lineup on these levels, I didn't look at what the exact payouts, but really wasn't that far off. So 132 points won 100,000. Here was the exact lineup that won that. Trevor Lawrence, Henry, Kirk, Andrews, and Devontae Smith. So pretty good players. Lawrence would not be considered a tier 1 or 2 quarterback at the time. Henry people were pretty down on him, but he is a superstar. And some of these guys are pretty good, but Devontae hadn't come in yet, I don't believe. Or he came in some week 2, I believe, and then he jacked it up week 3, and he had a horrible week 1. But not a chalk lineup. And there was a stack. I'm sorry. Lawrence Kirk was a stack. I didn't highlight that. One, I'd like Kirk all season, and to some degree Devontae Smith because he's been cheap. So you can see there, for my sake, I'm hoping most weeks are like 1 and 3, not 2, because I'm entering more on the rare level anyway now, or as much, or moving towards the rare level. And you can see that there. So generally, as it goes up, there's going to be less competition, less high scores, and bigger prizes, but of course, a lot more to get in, especially when you get up to Elite, Legendary, and Rainmaker. All right, so let's take a look at the running back. Sorry, I babbled on there. Okay, these are rest of the season PPR projections from one site based on a grouping of experts who had updated their projections as of Tuesday, the 27th, after the Monday night games this week. I think the scoring is extremely close to DraftKings, but I didn't check if it includes a couple of the bonuses. But the thing with looking at this is you get to see the whole season, and I'm fairly certain that it is a composite of all those experts' numbers, not just their rankings, but it could just be one site's projections. But I'm fairly certain in what I have. And again, these are rare cards, and the low floor price is when I capture them on Tuesday. Some of these have changed or will change. So tier 1 is sort of McCaffrey, Taylor, Barkley, and Mixon, 17 to 20 points. Not for week 4, average for the rest of the season. McCaffrey and Taylor are superstars. Here's the prices. They range from 64 to 105. Mixon is in a Thursday night game, and he's one of the top non-superstar running backs. So he is expensive. McCaffrey obviously has injury issues. You have to keep an eye on that. But on a dollar per point basis, he is the cheapest here at $64. These two are expensive, to some degree understandable with Barkley. If you look at that at $100, though, I believe I sold a common Barkley for maybe close to $50 at one time. So it's all relative, and that's why I've been kind of trying to sell cores when I can and move into rares. The next tier is sort of 15 points to 16 points. There you have Cook, Eckler, Fournette, Chubb, Aaron Jones, Swift, Henry, and Javonte Williams. Cook, Eckler, and Henry are superstars. The price differential here ranges from about 46, 45 to 68, a little bit below 70. They're fairly even on dollars per point. Henry down here at 3 times for $46, and Cook. Now Cook's injured, and they haven't used him as much this year, and he's injury prone. So I'm cautious on him. Henry looked fantastic last week. He still has like hands of stone, unfortunately, for PPR, but he looked really good. My thinking here would be the ones I would like would be Chubb when compared to Mixon. Fournette also. Now Swift looked great, but he's banged up. But that's probably a good deal as well if he can come back. And Henry. Javonte, I'm not 100% sure on. He could be really good with PPR as well. Jones, the problem there I think you have is between him and Dillon. Just as far as if I had to pick one of these. So I would probably go Chubb and Henry and Fournette, and then look at Swift depending on injuries from this whole group, and McCaffrey depending on health. And you have to make your own judgments. But $20 cheaper than this, he's basically priced with these, and they have him projected at the top with Taylor. Okay, the next tier, running backs. The thing with the running backs is there's a lot of sort of similar ones, and there's also, as far as who can get up to 30 points like in a given week, there's probably not a lot that can be visualized to do that or may do that versus like the wide receivers, depending. That's where you sort of need the PPR to come in to some degree because, points per reception. So here, what sort of group tier 3 currently is Kamara, Najee Harris, Robinson from Jacksonville, Connor, and Cordell Patterson. These range between 27 and 45. Kamara is jacked up. His expectations have come down quite a bit since the beginning of the year, but he is playing in a London game. Najee Harris and Connor are the cheapest here. Spoiler alert, no, but I bought a Harris, I believe for 25 yesterday. I was really debating between Harris, Connor. I looked at all of these: Hall, Dillon, Hunt, Sanders, Etienne, Gibson, Elliott. I own Jacobs already. Montgomery's a little hurt. So I ended up going for that one. I think him and Connor will both get a lot of workload as they have already, but will continue to get more. However, they aren't really generally the explosive types that you could expect to get 40 points in a week. Kamara is that kind. Robinson, I would be a little hesitant on because of Etienne. And in the past, as far as I remember, he's been the kind of guy who will have a really good part of the season and then trail off. Now, Breece Hall here in the next tier, okay? This is basically between 11 and high 12s. This is 13 to 14s. So you have Hall, Dillon, Hunt, Hilaire, Edwards-Hilaire, Sanders, Gibson, Etienne, Elliott, Pierce, Jacobs, and Montgomery. These range between $20 and $40. So Hilaire is jacked up. Now, I believe they just came out in one of these reports that they're planning on using even more running backs because his numbers have looked good. But if they're planning on incorporating running backs more, then he wouldn't really be one you'd want to go for there based on these and that news. Now, Breece Hall to me has shot up this projections total. He's a very high potential player based on like next gen draft stats. And both him and Carter have been putting up good points. There's a lot of uncertainty with the Jets, though, because with the quarterback change. But both him and Carter have been putting up decent points. So on a point per basis, the cheapest ones here are Hall, Gibson, and Etienne. Now, Gibson, Robinson's supposed to come back, and they have other tools, so that's uncertainty there. Etienne and Robinson. Then you have like Hunt with so several of these are paired up ones. Of course, remember running backs, I would say running backs and quarterbacks get injured more than wide receivers. And so you got a Dillon and a Hunt, and to some degree an Etienne, who are already getting usage and points. And imagine if the one back went down. They would go up even more. Sanders has been a bell cow for Philly, but they've also said they have several other backs, and I don't really see him as holding up as that kind of back over the season, but who knows. Elliott looks better. He might be along the lines of a Henry, a little bit underrated, but he has Pollard. Pierce for Houston's getting a lot of carries, but he's fairly expensive. Elliott, some of the Dallas ones are expensive from the Monday night game and the Giants, especially as of Tuesday. They may have already come down by Wednesday. The prices tend to be lower on Wednesday, even Thursday morning, Friday, even Saturday they were. I was surprised on Saturday. There's people selling, but you want to look for when the market's not as hot. You really don't want to be buying Sunday morning, or probably even Thursday afternoon in general, especially if you're looking to get a guy that's in the weekend games. Okay, so Jacobs is a guy that gets a lot of carries, not very explosive. I own multiple of him just mostly from packs and other things. I own several of these. Montgomery hurt, but the question is how long he's going to be hurt for. So if I had to pick here, Najee Harris and Connor, price-wise, because Cordell's a lot more. Breece Hall, very intriguing. This is a very tough group to pick from. You sort of have to make your own decision here. That's tier 3 and 4. Then we got tier 5 and some others. So tier 5 is basically 10 to 11 points. Here you have Wilson from San Francisco. Now he's in there because of an injury, and he is getting carries, and he's putting up decent points. There doesn't look to be much competition for me in that position. Now Mitchell, the question is when Mitchell's going to come back, and how much will Wilson have cemented his role by then? So I consider buying that one at $15 yesterday. Ramondre Stevenson with Harris. Got sort of a pass catcher and more of a runner, I believe. Singletary on Buffalo. I considered buying that one. He hadn't done anything all year, and then he had a monster game. Question is, Buffalo's going to score a lot of points. Question is, will he get carries? Will he get catches? They have Cook as well as other guys. So question there. Dobbins just came back for Baltimore. He's expected to be their bell cow, but I believe it was a very serious injury. 22. Edmonds, 25. If he was cheaper, I would like him more. He's with Mostert, but Edmonds is the PPR guy, in my opinion, there, and more explosive guy. Mostert. Pollard on Dallas. He's expensive again because of the Monday night game. He should put up good points all year, but he's expensive there. Now you got Akers and Henderson. Akers was the guy at the beginning of the year, then Henderson jumped in. So then they used Akers more. So people are thinking it's going to be a timeshare, but I believe Akers is considered to them to be more explosive, even after injuries, at 20. Now here we have Jamal Williams from the Lions. Okay, so Swift's out. We're not sure for how long. Jamal Williams has already been poaching touchdowns and putting up numbers, but and he's in a good offense. My rare on him sold. I don't like selling rares right now, but I had bought it for $7, and I think it sold for like $38. I had just put a limit price in a while ago, so it's higher than that now, but I'll take it. Like $30 gain basically means I can buy like these two guys for the price of that, or one $30 one on the next tier up, for example. Harris from New England, good PPR. The problem, New England has Belichick, who he's going to go for any single week, but Harris, they're probably going to have to run the ball a lot this year because the quarterback's out and they're pretty awful. Henderson, as I mentioned. Now Carter on the Jets. That's another one that'd probably be a good buy there. He's getting a lot of points. The Jets are running a good amount, running successfully. Zach Wilson may end up being a downgrade from Flacco. We don't know yet, but and Breece Hall's the rookie. Everybody loves the hot name, but he's pretty explosive and has been putting up decent points. On a relative basis, these range from 7 to 44. These range from 20 to 30. Now this is other. These are guys aren't necessarily. There's guys I didn't even put on here. Herbert from the Bears. Now this depends on the Singletary injury. His price has already gone up quite a bit though, and he had a big week last week, and the Bears run successfully, so he's expensive already. So I wouldn't say to go for these guys personally. Penny, people are sleeping on him on Seattle. He's been getting a lot of runs and putting up decent points. They have other running backs, but he's a good sleeper. That's one I consider buying as well. Madison, not super expensive if Dalvin Cook's out, but on a relative basis, on projected rest of the season, he is. Might be a bargain if Dalvin Cook's out a while. Mostert again. Cook on Buffalo is one I just pulled out. This one I sold mine for like 25 ahead of a showdown game, my rare. But he's back down to 7. He's going to be a pass catcher for them. There's so many weapons on Buffalo, but if like Diggs is hurt and stuff like that, just something to watch. Algier, I own one. I bought it at $5 a rare. He's basically their second running back, I think, behind Patterson, and he's a rookie. And Patterson is probably not the type they want to rush him too much all year. So just want to keep an eye on for $10. Eli Mitchell for 49ers, depending on when he's going to come back. People see IR and they think the whole season. I'm not 100% sure, but for $7, And it's also the kind of thing where you can handcuff running backs as well. All right, I've already gone long on this one, guys. Thanks for listening to my video. Subscribe and like and comment. I appreciate all your guys' comments and positive feedback and everything and questions. If you want to sign up for Reignmakers and you're like, let's say you're on DraftKings already, or you're doing NFL ALLDAY, or coming from other NFT projects or other DFS or from Sorare, things like that, you can use my referral code. It's DraftKings.com/r/Rufus Jones, RUFUSJONZ. On the Dapper, which is NBA TOPSHOT and NFL ALLDAY, I'm on that under Kentucky Wildcats. And you can gift or tip moments and on there to me if you appreciate my videos. All right, that's it, guys. I'm going to do one on wide receivers and tight ends as well. This one went real long because I was going over the previous week's contest. So have a good one, and thanks for tuning in.